o'clock, 2:06, Common Man Program on the Fan. Sinekin in the hot seat today with Brett Blakemore by my side. This will be a revolving door. I think Fallness is in tomorrow.
I believe so, yes.
I believe. Common and Barrero taking this week off, as they are wont to do every year around this time. So happy to sit in on a Monday following a weekend of football where we got a lot of clarity as we get closer to the postseason. We did have Kevin O'Connell's press conference about an hour and 15, 20 minutes ago. If you missed that, it'll all be podcastable once our program is over. The key points, he'd very much like to have J.J. McCarthy on the field for Week 18. Comes down to how that hand's feeling and whether the grip strength is there to play the position properly, even though he is playing a Packer defense of just as soon, you can just hand the ball off all day long. J.J. doesn't have to do any heavy lifting against the Packers defense, but he would like to see McCarthy out there for his 10th start in his first two seasons as the Vikings signal caller. He did mention, though, it could be Max, could be John Wolford, could be Brett Rippon, playing games with Matt LaFleur early in the week. We dare you to try to prepare for one of our four quarterbacks in Week 18 for the border battle.
I think the Green will just need to figure out how to get motivated to play a football game, because that's the biggest problem for them is just getting up for it. It seems like they were uninterested and unmotivated last week.
That is correct. He also mentioned that he doesn't believe Brian Flores would leave Minnesota to take another defensive coordinator position. He thinks if he leaves, it would be to be a head coach, which it sounds like he'd be on board. If that's what Brian Flores wants. He, of course, is in the last year of his deal, so something will have to be done, but it sounds like he believes B-Flow will be back as defensive coordinator after a very strong season, once again leading that unit. And then to him, the importance of finishing out with a win in what is, by and large, a meaningless game. But when it's Packers-Vikings, I don't think to anybody it's meaningless. I think from the Vikings side of things, it's always good to beat the Packers, whether they're motivated or not. And in this instance, a chance to win the last 5 games, finish with a winning record. At this point, the draft position is not going to be that affected by a win or a loss. What is going to be affected is whether you have a third or fourth place schedule. And I am curious for Viking fans, if losing to the Green Bay means you've got a fourth place schedule, which it would, is that enough of an incentive? Because if I were a Viking fan, I'd rather have the fourth place schedule heading into next year. Look at all the teams. We've talked about all the big turnarounds this year. The 49ers were a fourth-place team. They had a schedule that was as soft as Charmin bath tissue. And they've still been very good. They've dealt with injuries, and they have a chance to be the 1 seed. But if you roll through their schedule, you'll go, well, yeah, of course they're going to win 12 or 13 games. Same thing with New England and Jacksonville and Chicago. I mean, they all had fourth-place schedules. That is a thing. And I don't know, you weigh, it'd be great to be 9-8, and what that momentum, winning 5 in a row. You forget about the momentum, really. That momentum is not going to carry you into September. It feels good. It takes you into draft season. But I think it's far more important to have a fourth-place schedule next season and get to play the last-place teams in the North or the South, East, and West in the NFC and whatever division we're playing in the AFC, which at the moment, I think it's the AFC East, if memory serves. That means it's a Jets game, next year versus maybe a Dolphins game. And Dolphins have shown some mettle. So I'm curious, Vikings fans, if it's more important to you to finish 9-8 or going 8-9, but having a fourth place schedule next year. That feels more attractive long run to me.
Almost anytime we bring up not trying all that hard, losing, maybe, dare I say it, tanking the rest of the way. Not even tanking like throwing away the whole season, but just you're eliminated. What else are we doing here? Every time that's brought up, that's a loser mentality, and you just can't do that. I'm here to tell you, I completely agree. I think having the momentum, we beat the Packers Week 18. Look out Week 1. I mean, the Commanders went to, and I get there's a bunch of injuries, a bunch of different factors. Don't bother texting me. Commanders went to the NFC Championship game, and they were terrible. And even before the injuries, they were not very good. So it's not, I just don't understand that, the momentum's got to bring it. I mean, that's like me saying I had a great golf round in Arizona, and now by the time spring hits, I'm going to be fantastic because of that round.
Yeah.
But I haven't been swinging the rest of the winter. You know what I mean? It just doesn't, I don't think it's worth anything at all. And I would rather, if I were a fan, I would be starting, if I were KOC, I'd start either Rippon, or definitely not Max and definitely not JJ.
Why not Max?
I mean, you could start Max, I suppose, but
I mean, why not? I mean,
yeah, you could just see what you
I
got
understand
a little bit.
the lack of a cohesive offensive line is going to make it difficult for any quarterback, and Max having the least experience, probably gives you the least chance. At least with Rippon and Wolford, they've gotten some starts under their belts. They played for a
A
while.
little rust factor, though.
Yeah, that's
When's
true.
the last time Rippon started an NFL game?
I would think Vikings fans would much prefer facing a motivated Packer team that desperately needed to win this game, because then if you lose the game, okay, well, at least we played against a team that gave us an idea how to measure some of these guys against a team that's trying. And okay, silver lining, we got the fourth place schedule. We lost to the Packers. Whereas instead, you're going to get a Packers team that's going to be looking at their wrist, waiting for this game to end with no interest in playing. And it's not a team that's going to play a bunch of young guys to see what they got. They know what they've got. They've all had to play all year. It's a weird spot. I would rather have the L and know that I've got a nice, cushy, soft schedule to have the bounce back next year. If McCarthy stays healthy or another quarterback comes in and eventually gets that job to play next season, there might be a real opportunity with that schedule. And the divisions we play next year are helpful. I mean, it's not a real tough schedule on paper as it was this year. So again, that can change. We get all that. It's just a weird spot, I think, for Vikings fans to decide what they want to see happen this week.
Yeah, I don't think if I'm walking out of U.S. Bank Stadium after the Packers lose, I don't think any Vikings fans are going to get up in my face and say, ha, 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 you guys lost, because it's just not, there's nothing at stake whatsoever.
No,
and I think everybody in the building knows it.
Yeah, probably. That's probably very true. I wanted to touch on one game we haven't talked about from yesterday, and that's the Eagles-Bills game, because that's a pair of teams that have not had the seasons that they expected this year, but nobody would be surprised if that's a Super Bowl preview, right? If it's Bills, Eagles, is anybody going to be shocked? Now, it wasn't a great game. It was 13-12. The Eagles had a shutout going midway through the fourth quarter. Josh Allen was clearly banged up with that foot, and it got injured a couple times during that game. He couldn't run like he usually does. But Buffalo gets all the way back and scores a touchdown in the closing seconds and decide to go for two to get the win. And instead, they come up short. Josh Allen brain freeze through a bad pass on the 2-point conversion. I don't understand why it's even a discussion. Josh Allen can barely move out there. The last thing the Bills want is to play another overtime session and put that guy on the field for an extended period of time. They just want to try to get through this game as healthy as possible. The AFC East title is a thing of the past. They're a wild card team. Whether they're 5, 6, 7 probably doesn't matter, especially with the teams on top all being unproven playoff teams. Buffalo's not going to be afraid to go anywhere. I understand, in a lot of situations, you fought back from 12, 13, nothing, whatever it was. Why would you just take a shot, at the very end of the game? And if you don't make the play, you lose. Buffalo wanted to get off that field. So I don't think there's anybody on the Buffalo side that has any second guesses about that decision. What I found fascinating is the statistic I saw after the game that the Eagles are the only NFL team in 35 years to score 0 points and complete 0 passes in the second half and win a football game. Think about it.
It's embarrassing.
Think about it. They didn't score. They didn't complete a pass. And yet they can still be the 2 seed if they win and the Bears lose in Week 18. Yet again, back to my point, if that defense looked great. If Barkley got a little banged up, if he's okay, and we know what Philly can do in the postseason, would anybody be surprised if it's an Eagles-Bills Super Bowl? I don't think it's going to be. I don't think the Eagles, it just doesn't feel like their year. Their offense and that coordinator's got to be a one-and-done guy. But we might have watched a Super Bowl preview, and I don't think we wanted the way it looked. It was such an ugly game. It rained. It was an ugly, the weather was not great. But I watched that game thinking, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, the cachet both of these organizations have. And for Buffalo fans, they finally don't have to worry about Kansas City. They're dead and buried. You would think that this would be their time. Yet they've been sort of sluggish. Their defense hasn't been great. Their quarterback's banged up. They don't have any receiver that scares you. It just feels like the window's open for Buffalo. If this isn't your year, when Mahomes is down and out, when will it be your year?
I think as far as the Eagles go, I think they're the 3rd favorite to get to the Super Bowl of the NFC. I would take Rams and Seahawks over them.
I would take Niners over them.
I think I would too. The question is You take the Bears over them, which
No, I would not. I know the Bears went in there on Black Friday and destroyed them. But you give me a game in January at Soldier Field between the Eagles and Bears, what's the line? If they meet in the second round of the playoffs, and haven't done the numbers if that could even happen, but let's just say they met in the second round, Eagles at Bears, I'll bet that's a Bears by 1, Bears by 2. I think it's under a field goal. I also think if Green Bay plays the Bears in the opening round,
which they overwhelmingly probably
likely will. Yeah. And that's, I think, what all Packer fans want. If it's a choice between going to Chicago or going to Philly, we'd rather go to Chicago, a place where we didn't trail for 1 second of that game. 2 games against the Bears. Green Bay has not trailed for 1 second against the Chicago Bears this season. So they'd love to play them again. I think the Bears would be about a 1 or 2 point favorite against Green Bay. It would be under a field goal. And everybody in that locker room would love to get another shot at those guys. No question about it. And the Packer fan nation would as well. But I'm curious to see what happens with Philly and Buffalo, because there are so many teams in the playoffs that just don't have any postseason history of late to be afraid of. Like in the AFC, the top 3 teams are Denver, New England, and Jacksonville. Is Buffalo scared of any of those teams in the postseason? I don't think so. And same thing with Philly. Those West teams look really good. But Philly's the defending champs, and when the games matter, they're going to be a tough out. So I'm really curious to see what those 2 teams do in the postseason. Let's pause here. Coming up on Sunday, I'm taking part in a fundraiser to raise money for first responders on both sides of the river in Hudson. I can't wait to do it with Nordo. One of the organizers of that event, Cory Bittner, joins us next to talk about what's on tap in Hudson on Sunday morning, a couple hours before kickoff at U.S. Bank Stadium. That's next on The Fan.
Grab your crew. Join us for a Michelob Ultra Wolves watch party at Casper's and Egan tonight. You can hang out with Max Fuller, 7 to 9 p.m., play halftime trivia, win awesome prizes, plus food and drink specials while you cheer on the Wolves. Don't miss out. All the details, KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
We're back on the Common Man program. It's the Monday of Border Battle Week. That's usually one of the greatest weeks on the NFL calendar. We all know there's very little at stake when the Packers and Vikings meet at U.S. Bank Stadium. There might be more drama happening in Hudson a couple hours before kickoff when a massive tug-of-war will take place on the old toll bridge in Hudson between Packer fans and Viking fans to raise money for first responders on both sides of the river. I've been honored to take part. I'm very much looking forward to it as we welcome one of the organizers of the event, Cory Bittner, who joins The Fan on a Monday afternoon. Hello, Cory. How are you?
I'm great, Dave. Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, you bet. So give me the genesis for this idea. How many years have you been doing it, and what brought it to be?
Right on. A buddy of mine, Ethan Gilmore from DeMachin Restaurant, had this idea of doing a tug of war, and it was like one of those Fridays or Sunday mornings, Sunday afternoons at Brian's in downtown Stillwater, and he's like, let's have a tug of war on the lift bridge, and we kind of got this idea going. We were watching fantasy football, and we're like, what if it was a Packer versus Vikings tug of war? And so last year was the inaugural border battle tug of war. It took place. I think it was like December 29th last year. We had about 800 people out to watch and tug, and we just had a really good time. And so we decided, let's do it again. And so we've made it the second annual this year. Just long story short. And originally we applied for the Stillwater Lift Bridge to have the second annual, but the MnDOT said no, and didn't allow us to have the permit to do the event. So we pivoted successfully to Hudson, and we're going to have the second annual border battle this Sunday morning, 10 a.m. On the Hudson Toll Bridge, or the old toll bridge, also known as the Hudson Pier. So it's right downtown, right by Dick's Bar, in right downtown Hudson is where it's taking place. We encourage people to stop by and watch, and we also encourage people to register.
How do they do that?
To register, you can either go to Brian's Bar and Restaurant in downtown Stillwater or Gov's Place in North Hudson. That way you can register in person. Otherwise, online at borderbattle.org. A lot of information on like frequently asked questions on our website, and you can learn how to register. And with registration for tugging, you get a commemorative beanie. So it's a knit hat which has our Border Battle logo, and they're really cool looking hats. They are knit caps. They have a purple and gold for the Vikings tuggers, and then a green and gold for the Packer tuggers.
Sweet. I'm guessing you got Gerbschmidt to grease the wheels a bit to allow the Wisconsin side of the river to be a little bit more open-minded to allow this thing to I'm guessing Gerby had a hand in helping get this thing through on the Wisconsin side.
He talks and texts most to a lot more government officials than we know.
There's no question about it. So help me visualize what this looks like. You've got obviously a rope. Is it like a green and purple rope, or just a rope? And how far apart are the two sides where the tuggers start? Give me a visual of what this thing looks like.
Sure. So the tug area is going to be on the pier. So it's a long, and similar to last year when we had it on the Stillwater Lift Bridge. So we need about 400 feet to do the actual tug. The rope is 300 feet long, and we had our sponsors last year who sponsored it, and we purchased like this really thick. And it's official. I mean, we checked, what kind of rope do we need for how many people are tugging. Typically, it's a series of tugs. So it's typically like 30 people on each side, 25 to 30 on each side, and then we'll do a best of. And some tuggers will tug multiple times depending on how we have registration going and such. But registration is definitely open. We're encouraging people to register and gather your friends and family to come out and tug. And it's all for a good cause, like you had mentioned earlier. It's for first responders on both sides of the river, and there is something in the game. So the winning team, so last year the Packers won 3 tugs to 2. And so the first responders on the Wisconsin side received 60% of the proceeds. And that turns out to be some nice checks written out to the and first responder associations of the police department in Hudson, the St. Joseph Fire Department, and then the EMTs from Lakeview, as well as the Stillwater Police and the and Bayport Fire and Bayport Police.
That's fantastic. That is obviously a great cause. And so this thing starts at 10 o'clock. It's probably over, around 11:15. And the fact that the game is at noon, I'm guessing was music to your organizers' ears, because then you're within the hour of kickoff and folks can decide which friendly establishment to watch the game at, whether it's on the Hudson side or the Stillwater side. The timing just worked out perfectly.
Exactly. Yeah, the fact that they didn't flex the game time works out for us great. Last year they did flex it to a 3 o'clock start, so we just had a little bit more time to party and prep for the game. Mm-hmm. But this year that doesn't look like it's going to be a problem. And so, yeah, registration is open right now. If there are registrations still available day of, that might be a possibility. Depends on how many people register. Right now there's plenty of room, but if we have registration available, we'll start taking in-person registration at our check-in table at 9 a.m. right down there by Dick's Bar.
And remind folks one more time, Cory, how to register, how to get involved in the event.
Sure. Go to borderbattle.org. And there you'll find out all the information. There's all of our sponsors are listed. KFAN is our sponsor. I want to make sure and thank KFAN and Chad Abbott for allowing the talent, yourself and Nordo, to come out. We really appreciate that. And then all the mentions and having us on today. It's great to have a really great radio station to support us. And again, borderbattle.org for registration, more information. And we're really looking forward to it. And again, it's for a good cause, and I just want to make sure that even though Viking fans are going to Hudson, Wisconsin. It's not scary. This is not Philadelphia. They're not going into Lincoln Financial. There's going to be, friendly banter, but nothing serious. And that's, of course, because it all is for our first responders, our heroes, who are going to be on site as well. And so you can shake hands with police and fire and EMT guys who just, they run to help. And that's the impetus for this event is that, we want to help these organizations support our heroes in the community.
Very much looking forward to it. It sounds like the weather will cooperate. It's not going to be too frigid. Thanks for including us. I know Nordo's excited. I am too. We'll see you Sunday morning. Cory Bittner, thank you. And great idea. Can't wait to be a part of it on Sunday.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate it. Take care now.
You got it. That's Cory Bittner. He's helping organize the Tug of War, the Border Battle Tug of War, borderbattle.org. If you'd like to get involved, Nordo and I will be on hand Sunday morning. I'm going to race out of here after Packer Preview and head to Hudson. Can't wait to meet a lot of people and have a whole lot of fun. Blake Moore and I will close things out. Final half hour, more NFL conversation, preview and Wild and Wolves. We'll take it up to Alec Lewis at 3 o'clock right after these.
Minnesota, the state of hockey, hosts the world this winter. The 2026 IHF World Juniors is here, and it's bringing the best young talent from across the globe in your backyard. Be part of the tradition and get your tickets now, mnsportsandevents.org. They're very reasonably priced, mnsportsandevents.org.
All right, final segment, today's edition of the Common Man program. Dave Sinekin in for Common today. Fallness will be in this chair tomorrow. Let me again give you the lineup the rest of the day. A very busy day to come on the Fan. Alec Lewis will be in this chair shortly for a truncated 1-hour edition of the Bumper to Bumper program. He's on from 3 to 4. Vikings Rewind follows. I'm sure you'll get the highlights of the Kevin O'Connell news conference, much of which we carried live about an hour and almost 2 hours ago, I guess now. From 4 to 5, Vikings Rewind. Then live coverage of Team USA against Slovakia, the World Juniors. Blake Moore will be in the house. Halverson will be behind the mic. We'll bring you that game live on the Fan. At 7, first half coverage of Monday Night Football. Rams looking to hopefully get closer to the number 5 seed and a date with the NFC South champs. That's preferable to the 6th seed. And either the Eagles or another NFC West team. We'll give you the first half of that one. And then Wild Hockey at 9 o'clock on the Fan. Wild at Vegas. Wolves will be available on the iHeart app, the Timberwolves channel therein. So plenty to come on the Fan for the rest of the day. A lot of texts came in, Bradshaw and Brian, KFAN text line, on the idea of would you rather beat the Pack or secure the 4th place schedule for next year? Vast majority would prefer to secure the 4th place schedule, although one texter reminded us, this year you get teams like the Bears and Jaguars and Patriots. How'd that work out for teams having to play those teams? Yeah, that's always a danger that some of those 4th place teams are going to be great. But if you look at how the Bears and the Niners in particular feasted on very weak schedules from the 4th place position, I think that's the way you always want to go. One person texted in, I love hearing 2 Packer fans saying you don't want to beat us. You want to lose to us.
I didn't say that.
Neither one of us said that. I'd much rather not go into the postseason on a 4-game losing streak. I would much rather win the game on Sunday. And to be perfectly clear, Matt LaFleur has made no public declarations of what his strategy is going to be on Sunday. We're just connecting the dots. That in a game that means absolutely nothing to Green Bay's playoff positioning, and as banged up as they are and thin because they're having to play guys already. They lost 5 more guys on Saturday night to go with the, I don't know how many guys were out before that game. There's not a whole lot of healthy bodies to play anyway. So I'd love to see Malik Willis start. Jordan Love is not playing in this game. I think we can be pretty clear. I'd be bamboozled.
What if he played the first half?
But what's the point? What if he gets knocked out and now he's done for the playoffs?
Well,
you can't gain anything. You want to give him just a couple, break a sweat for a...
I'm just playing devil. I think they should sit him too, for the record. But I could see a world where they go, well, if we sit him this week, that's 2 weeks of rest and he'll be rusty. So you got to get him out there a little bit. I could see them
To face
say
Brian Flores, the mad scientist, and that deep, no thank you.
Didn't have much problem last time.
I understand that, but I'd put Malik out there, let Malik build his resume, assuming his shoulder's healthy enough to play. Jacobs will not be playing. Watson, I'm sure, will not play, although he's really close to passing his career totals, I think, in catches and yards or touchdowns. But you just got to be careful. So, no, I'd love to win that game and have a little bit of something positive heading into a likely game in Chicago. That's not the point. I just don't expect Green Bay to go into this game showing a lot and playing a lot of their really key players. And that's why the motivation on the Viking side, it was made clear by the head coach. They want to keep going. They want to keep winning. A coach is never going to say, yeah, we'd love to secure that fourth place schedule. We'd love to finish last in the North. That would be outstanding. Even if a small part of him believes that, looking ahead to next season, once all this dust clears and we're into the off season and they see what their schedule looks like, and they say, yeah, suddenly we get to play the, whatever it might be, the Titans or the Saints or the Jets or the Cardinals. I mean, look at the NFC West. You get the Cardinals or you get a playoff team. That makes a big difference as you come down to razor thin margins, whether you're in or out. I mean, if Minnesota wins Sunday, they finish a half game behind the Packers. That Dallas tie is probably what saved Green Bay from missing the postseason the way things have gone. So you've all weighed in. It feels like those of you that have weighed in would rather secure that fourth place schedule. Just wash the season away and know that you got maybe a couple of slight advantages heading into next year. We saw a game yesterday, that kind of a tankathon game, right, between the Raiders and Giants. Whoever lost that game has the inside track at the number one pick. You sense that the Raiders were the more desperate team to secure the number one pick because they're looking for a quarterback. Not that you can't get one at 2, but you'd love to have your choices at 1. The Giants feel like they've got their quarterback. I doubt if they stay at number 2, they'll likely trade down a little bit and secure some draft capital to move down a few slots because they need a lot of things, but they feel good, I think, about Jackson Dart. But it's brought up the conversation today. I've seen it in a couple places about the NFL eventually, and maybe sooner rather than later, going to a draft lottery, a la most other leagues, I think. I mean, we know the NBA does it. Does hockey do a lottery?
They do. I don't know what baseball does, but yeah, the 2 winter sports do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they have to find a way to do something like that, right? Because look what happened in Vegas this past week. They decided to shut down Brock Bowers, shut down Max Crosby. He throws a hissy fit and leaves the facility and says, I'm here to play. I don't want to not play because you think I'm going to give the team a better chance to win a meaningless game. That's just a bad look for the league, especially when you have players like that want nothing more than to be out there. And granted, he's banged up and maybe it does better serve him to rest his body, but you alienated your best player. I don't know how much, but it sounds like a lot. And then maybe to the point where the guy says, get me out of here. And now suddenly, if you've got to deal Max Crosby, you're really starting from scratch. So I don't know how they would accomplish it, but how many teams do you put into the lottery? Is it all the non-playoff teams? Is it weighted like what the NBA does? Does the NHL do it the same way where, in the NBA now, the 4 worst teams all have a 25% chance to secure the number 1 pick?
You have more of a chance, yeah. It's almost never happens that way, though.
Well, no, not in the NBA either. Look at Dallas ends up with Cooper Flagg and the number 1 pick with a 1.4% chance. Yeah, we made you trade Luka to the Lakers, so we're going to throw you a bone here and give you the number 1 pick. That's the conspiracy theory.
Funny, when there was a consensus number 1 overall pick in hockey, Connor Bedard, the 3 finalists, it got down to the 3 finalists. I think they do that in the NBA as well. It was between Anaheim, Columbus, and the Chicago Blackhawks. And funny, the major market original 6 team won, and now they have a generational player in Bedard. Funny how that works.
Yeah, it really is. I think it's only a matter of time in the NFL. And I think it best serves the league to not have these kind of ugly situations where teams are trying to, lose and making no bones about it, like it's quite obvious that's what they're trying to do. It's a bad look in a multi-billion-dollar presentation for sure. So Abbott just texted us that we talked about the busy day ahead. on KFAN. You want to go ahead and let us know what Abbott wanted to remind us?
Well, not only do we have everything lined up with
World
hockey,
Juniors, Wild, Wolves, all tonight.
but also we have men's basketball, Twin Cities News Talk, AM 1130 and 103.5 FM. And you have women's hoops, so that's Gophers. And women's hoops as well against your club, the Hoosiers. That's on KFAN Plus, 96.7.
So you're telling me Guardsy is in lovely Bloomington, Indiana right now?
Well, he did tweet out pictures of his last couple days. One poolside in Phoenix after the Rate Bowl, and then one snow everywhere in Bloomington,
Is there snow
Indiana.
everywhere? There's not always a ton of snow.
Unless he's
in
flying
Bloomington.
out from Minnesota. But either way, it's going to be cold.
Yeah, well,
a lot colder than Phoenix.
They do get snow occasionally in Bloomington, no question. I'm envious that he gets to be in one of my favorite towns. So Gophers men and women on our various stations, AM News Talk or KFAN Plus for the women. The Gophers, I think this is their final tune-up before the Big Ten season begins in earnest this weekend. That's Fairleigh Dickinson, I believe, for the Golden Gophers. It feels like they haven't played in forever, maybe finals and the holidays and all of that. But I'm anxious to turn my attention to Big Ten basketball. That's one of my favorite things to follow. That'll start up again this weekend. I know my Indiana team hasn't played in like 2 weeks. They have a game. I think they play Washington on Sunday to start their Big Ten schedule. So this is an epic sports day. Everybody in action on this Monday holiday week. But yeah, back to the future of the NFL draft. I think that's going to serve this league well to do that. I'd love to know how quickly they can make that happen and how they navigate it, because that's something that I think that needs to happen. We talked about Week 17 being in the books, what lies ahead, the number 1 seed up for grabs in both conferences, 4 division titles still up for grabs. We're going to hear the common complaints about the NFC South champs, either going to have 8 or 9 wins, they might have a losing record, yet they get to host a playoff game, and there'll be all the consternation. Is that fair for a team like, Seattle or San Francisco, whoever doesn't win the NFC West, to have to go and play a team like that? And, I'm an old-fashioned guy. I'm an old guy. I'm an old-fashioned guy. I like divisions. I like the fact that winning a division gets you something, and in this case, it's a home game. And, we saw it. Was it Seattle a few years ago that was under 500, and they go and win on the road against a double-digit win team? So, we look at it now and say, whether if it's Seattle or San Francisco going to Tampa or Carolina, can't see them losing. Well, you're probably right this year, but that's why they play the game. Tampa Bay has lost, let me get the number. I don't know why I take my glasses off, because whenever I want to refer to my paper, I have to put them right back on. Tampa Bay has lost 7 of their last 8 games. And if they win Sunday to win the NFC South, they'll be the first team to finish 2-7 and reach the postseason. And that was a team, remember, again, we talk about how long the season is. Baker Mayfield was being talked about as an MVP candidate in October. He looks nothing like that guy the last 2 months. And neither the Panthers nor the Buccaneers look like they belong on the same field with, I'm not going to say Green Bay, but the other 5 playoff teams right now. They look like at an entirely different level. But it would be quite a turnaround for Carolina to win that division where they were a year or 2 ago.
Do you think they could redo the NFL playoff system without losing the division? Or, because I get winning the division means nothing, right? But you still have just teams that you play more often than the others? Or do you have to scrap it entirely? Do you go protected opponents like the Big Ten does, where Wisconsin and Minnesota play every year? I just feel like we voted on it, and it got, I think, pretty well voted down on redoing the playoff system and how it's done. I'd like to see the tush-push go this year, that's for sure, especially after all these offsides calls. I just don't know if there's a way that you can do it without either getting rid of the divisions or neutering them entirely. Is there a way? I don't know.
Yeah, I guess I don't know either.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
I was asking you.
I don't have an answer.
Yeah.
I got wrapped up in a text that came in saying, what are you talking about? Green Bay can't get a 4th place schedule. They're locked in as the second in the division. Who said Green Bay is playing for the 4th place schedule? I didn't. I said it's the Lions or Vikings. We know this because the Packers are in the playoffs and the Vikings and Lions aren't. So how can Green Bay be playing for a fourth-place schedule? You must have misheard. We're talking about the value of whether it makes sense for the Vikings to feel okay about finishing in fourth place in a meaningless game. I understand that the players want to win this game. The coaches want to win this game. They don't care about a fourth-place schedule right now this week. I'm thinking about from a top-down. Like, how do the Wilfs feel about this game? Like, do the Wilfs care about finishing 8-9 versus 9-8, or knowing that, yeah, a loss sucks and we're 8-9 and we expected a whole lot more, but that fourth place schedule is going to feel good. And I understand it's only 3 games difference among many, but those 3 games can swing everything. Again, if you're playing the Cardinals next year versus the Seahawks, okay, that matters. And yes, the Cardinals could be an entirely different team next year. I get that. You going to bet on that? I'm not. I'll take my chances with the Cardinals right now.
I know it's hard to believe, but when you and I are talking about football and what we'd rather have, it's not always about Green Bay. I know.
It's hard for some people to wrap their heads around.
We're talking about the purple.
Correct.
At that point.
All right, final few minutes. Let's review, shall we? We got a game tonight, Rams-Falcons. Not much on the line unless you're playing fantasy football and you got, like Nordo needs Bijan and Puka to have major nights. He'll be locked in. Otherwise, it comes down to whether the Rams can hang on to the 5 seed, which is useful to play the NFC South champ versus the Eagles or the Seahawks or Niners. We get that. But otherwise, we're looking ahead to one final week where our game means very little, but there are so many epic games on the final Sunday of the calendar to map out the 14 teams and what the matchups are in the postseason. Wide open postseason. Eagles and Chiefs seemed like obvious picks a year ago heading into the playoffs. As we said to start the show, give me 16 different matchups. I wouldn't be shocked if any of them happen. While they're back in action on the road against Vegas, you'll be watching because
to see how they step it up and how they even go further and keep the momentum going. Because we talked about momentum and keeping it for the Vikings potentially winning and carrying it to next season. The momentum for the Wild are rolling right now. I think they're 5-1-1 or 5-0-1 since the Quinn Hughes trade. So let's keep it moving. I think off the top of my head, Gus Bus is in the net. Some lines rejuggled, which I very much enjoy. So I want to see Yurov on that top line so he plays at Kaprizov.
That's at 9 o'clock. You'll hear it on the Fan. I'll be locked into the Timberwolves, who will try to make amends for a lousy performance on Saturday night in Chicago to face Josh Giddey, Colby White, and a cast of thousands with the Bulls. You'll hear that on the Timberwolves channel on the iHeart app. We have World Juniors. We've got Gophers men's and women's too. It's a cornucopia of sports on the Fan. But up next, it's Alec Lewis to talk all things purple. He will, I'm sure, analyze what he heard in Kevin O'Connell's press conference and what he thinks the Vikings will be looking to show and do in Week 18. It's a 1-hour edition of the Bumper to Bumper program with Alec Lewis. That is up next. That's it for us. For Brett Blakemore, I'm Dave Sinekin. Thanks for listening. Happy New Year. And I'm going to change it up. Looking forward to Thursday at about 3 o'clock. Go Hoosiers. Have a good day, everybody.
And good night, folks. And good night, Mrs. Calabash, wherever you are.
Listen back to any of Common Man's programs by podcasting on the iHeartRadio app or KFAN.com.